Hello, and welcome back to another beautiful episode of the podcast You Are the Masterpiece, where we continue bringing these amazing guests who continue showing us that we do not have to be perfect as long as we are taking the effort. And we are all the work in progress, as same as the masterpiece at the same time. And if this is the first time you're tuning in, welcome to my world. My name is Irina Portnova, and I'm a manifestation star because I manifested consciously great things in my life, and I'm here to teach you how to do it with ease and fun. And today I have such a wonderful guest, Marissa Polselli. Marissa, it's so great to have you with us. Welcome.
Irina, thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here with you.
Yay! And Marissa, tell a little bit about yourself. Why do you do what you do? And what is something wonderful you're going to share with the audience today?
Sure, thank you. So, I am an intuitive writer and a voice reclamation specialist, which is a fancy way of saying that. I work with women who they sort of have this quiet suspicion that they've been living on half volume, at least in some areas of their life. Doesn't mean they're not wildly successful. It just means that there are some areas where they notice that sometimes they go a little quiet. And what I do with these women is together we trace that silence and also their strengths back through their lineage, specifically their matriarchal line, and map it out in their own lives so that we can map out the way back to their full expression.
That's so beautiful, is that? Yeah, and today we are going to explore more. And I completely agree with you, Marissa, because I've been that woman as well.
Mm,
Although I was in
mm,
the leadership all my life,
mhm,
but
mhm.
still, I did realize that at some point in my life, in some areas of my life, whether this was in the family, whether this was
Mhm.
at work, I was putting myself quiet, although I wasn't happy about it. Like I was
Right.
constantly battling with myself. It wasn't something
Mhm.
that, like I agreed to do, but there was the time when I had actually literally had to step on my throat and just keep shut, right? Just shut myself out. And
Yeah.
it's such a great freedom when
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
just allow ourselves to be and allow our voice to be loud and clear, not
Yes.
caring what others are saying.
Yes. I love the word that you said, freedom. Someone asked me to describe what I do in 3 words, and I said, facilitate voice liberation. This
Mm,
is about freedom, right? And if any of your listeners are wondering, is this conversation for me? I would ask them this question. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you said something, or maybe you held back from saying something, and then later you thought, darn it, that is exactly what my mother or my grandmother would have done. And I
mhm.
bet you, no matter where we are, how successful, what our bank account is like, how many followers we have, right? Most of us are going to say yes to that. We come
Mhm.
into this world with so much already here, and a lot of it's good. I am not here to be disloyal to anyone's lineage or, to say that it's anything that needs to be disavowed. We come in inheriting medicine, and we also come in inheriting some patterns that were survival mechanisms at the time, but are no longer needed now. So we get to be the ones to say, okay, this part can stop with me.
I love that. I love that. And I'm super thrilled to talk about this conversation that we are having, from silence to six figures, reclaiming your voice and your
Mm,
power. Can you
mm.
just kind of take us to that, please?
Yes, I will tell you that the reason that I've created this business and this method that I have for leading women through this practice is because I needed it. I created it for myself, and it's born from my own experience. I grew up, I had a wonderful childhood, a beautiful, loving family, but it was a very traditional family. And it was a family where um, male voices were allowed to be loud and women were not allowed to raise their voices in arguments. And thankfully, my family evolved past that over time, and that was beautifully healed. But it was what I understood from a very early age. I also then chose to go into a career that was very male dominated. I worked for 18 years within a very patriarchal educational system in Philadelphia, and women's voices were not welcome. I was a leader, I was the chairperson of my department, and there were definitely men in my department who did not want to be told by a woman how to do their job. So I will tell you, Irina, the pivotal moment for me was at a faculty meeting. And I had an opinion about something that was being said. It was my job to uphold the academic standards, and I took that really seriously. So I was expressing my opinion, and I was disagreeing with someone else in the room. And a male colleague literally made a cat noise. You know the noise that men make when women are going to fight? Like they do
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like
Yeah.
he literally made that noise as I was expressing my disagreement. And the whole room erupted into laughter. I turned beet red and I realized that in one fell swoop, with one stupid little noise, he completely robbed me of my authority. I would never be taken seriously again in that room because
Mm-hmm.
everything that I would say would just be, oh, there's the B word, right? Saying something.
Mm-hmm.
It was so humiliating. It was so disempowering. And it is only one example of very serious
Mine.
misogyny that I encountered. The situation became very toxic, and that is why I left education, an 18-year career that I loved. I loved my students. I still keep in touch with them. These girls are amazing. They're not girls anymore. They're women out there changing the world and doing wonderful things. So I didn't want to leave them, but I did remove myself from a toxic environment, and that was the first step for me of starting to reclaim my voice. But it took years of really in-depth self-discovery and working myself through trial and error through different processes to understand, why did I let myself go quiet in that room? Why did I allow them to take my power? What is it in me? What did I come in understanding or not understanding? And I developed a system for leading myself through these questions and answers. And that is what I have refined and I work with women on today.
Oh my God, this is so beautiful. So can you take us back a little bit? And I can totally relate. I wasn't at, like the managerial position, but I
Mhm.
remember I just got pregnant with my first child with my daughter. And I was
Mhm.
working for this company in the treasury department because I have accounting background. And my treasurer, he was very young, he was like very upbeat, and I thought we would get along very well up until the point when I started to like really disagree with some
Mhm.
things, right?
Mhm.
And the things were like silly, something like he wanted me to check in and check out every day, and I felt it's like going back to school, right? And
Yes.
I never forget, there was like that one instant when he wanted me to finish one of the reports that I was working on. And he literally was calling me on my extension every 5 minutes, which, you understand, when we are stressed out, we cannot really function,
Mhm.
and we start making mistakes, right? So basically, what I told him, I said, listen, if you are going to call me every 5 minutes, it's not going to get done faster, right?
Mhm.
So he was
Mhm.
okay with
Yeah.
that. But then I submitted that report and I was waiting for him another hour where everybody already left home. I was still in the room waiting to see if he wants to review. Later on, finding out that he said, you know what, I don't have time for that today. At that moment, Marissa, I felt so disrespected, right?
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, how
Mhm.
dare you are, and I don't care what position you have, right?
Mhm.
I think this is like my soul rebel because I never have any, like idols. I never
Mhm.
like want to be like anybody else. And I guess that's my old soul that is trying to express. And for me, I don't care the authority or the power that anybody
Mhm.
holds, because for me, the best respect person can have if they are human and
Yeah.
if they know how to treat other humans, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
at that moment, it was such a disrespect that I was just, like I was furious. And at the same time, I felt like, that is so unfair. And to make a long story short, it went to the point that when we had our annual review, he said that, like, I am not up to the speed, that I always have to stay late. So he wouldn't, like promote me for anything else. And at
Wow.
that point, I was so fed up. So I sent the email with even, like thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to have the job, right? But at that time, I was just like literally pregnant. And I was thinking to myself, with morning sickness and everything, I'm not putting with this crap, right? So
Mhm.
I wrote the email, CC the HR department, and it was interesting because everybody was rotating. Like nobody could really work under his management, so people were coming and
Hmm.
going, right? And I
What
just
that sound like?
literally said that it wasn't right, that this was very disrespectful, right? And I actually just kind of lay out everything what he was talking about me versus what the way I was perceiving the situation. And again, I can't say that I came up with this by myself, because I had this amazing coworker woman who actually encouraged me to do that, because
Mhm.
like coming from, like being the immigrant and like always
Oh,
feeling,
yes.
you know what, like I have to be happy that I'm having this amazing job, right? But at
Mhm.
that moment, she said, you know what, you gotta claim your power and you have to
Mhm.
express what you feel. And let me tell you, Marissa, that was the best time where I actually put my foot down and I said,
Mhm.
I do not care who you are, you gotta
Mm.
treat me with the respect, right? So that was amazing. Obviously, like, and I actually initiate the resignation, like resignation. I wasn't waiting for him to fire me. I actually went out and just said, you know what, I'm not staying here anymore. So I bet it was a shock experience for him as well, because he used to the thing that, he is the, like the king, and he can do whatever he wants, right? But
Mhm.
I can totally relate, because you are just, describing exactly how, like I felt myself.
Mhm. Yeah, well, he was definitely on a power trip. But it's very interesting, Irina, what you said about um, being an immigrant. I think that
Mhm.
that is part, is in America, that is part of the story. We're all immigrants, unless you are a Native
Mhm.
American.
Right.
We all, at
Exactly.
some point, are immigrants.
Mhm.
And I actually am doing some writing about this right now. My immigrant grandparents came. I'm second generation. My parents were first generation. Um, but one side from Poland and the other side from Italy. And the side that came from Poland had a very, very hard life. And so I can absolutely see how their struggle has played out in my own life. And there is such a beauty to that, because there is a chance for healing. And I will give you one small example. It's not about voice so much as it is about vulnerability. So my grandmother, we called her Babci, Polish
Yes,
for
yes, yes. I know what it means.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So she was an orphan in Poland. Her mother died, and her father was in America trying to raise money to bring her over. She lived with her grandmother, and war came, and her village was burnt to the ground. And her grandmother said, "Run and don't look back." And the grandmother perished in the fire, and she was alone. And she was an orphan, and she lived in the forest. She foraged for food. She would go from farm to farm and beg for work in exchange for food. And as I was growing up, she eventually made her way to America when she was 18. But she used to tell me that sometimes she was so hungry that she would sneak onto a farm and lay down underneath a cow and milk the cow into her
Mm.
mouth. And I remember thinking, can you imagine being a little child and being
By
so
yourself.
hungry that you would risk being trampled by a cow to get
Mhm.
nourishment? And it
Yep.
dawned on me, I understand why I overeat sometimes. I'm eating for her.
Mm,
And my relationship with food was directly linked to this
mhm,
karmic kind of generational thing that was
mhm,
going on. So I found healing there when I was able to say, even though she had already passed, Babchi, you're okay now. I
mm.
don't need to eat for you anymore. We can let this go, right? And it's a non-voice example, but it's a powerful example. And we can
Oh,
do the same thing with voice. We
mhm,
can honor the resilience of the women who came before us and who faced conditions that we here in America oftentimes, even though we sometimes still encounter negative situations like you and I have described, a lot of times it's not nearly as bad as previous generations have encountered.
absolutely.
But we can honor that, and we can also say we're in a different place and we can let this go now. You're okay.
I love that so much. And you know what? The word that keeps coming back to me, freedom, because
Hmm.
I do not know what was your why when you started, like really, like went out of the corporate, right? Because there are so many people who can't stand to work for somebody. They might feel suffocated,
Hmm.
yet they are so frightened to make that step, to start
Yes.
even exploring what it looks like to be on the other side. And I remember, like, I would never go back and work for anybody ever,
Mhm.
ever again. And I do not care where there were the times where I had to, like, really put myself out and do things, because I was thinking all the time, I was coming back, why did I start it, right?
Mhm.
Why am I doing what I'm doing? Because this is gives me life. I love what I'm doing. And I also enjoy the freedom because there is nobody here to boss
Mhm.
me around.
Yes. Yes. Well, after I left teaching, I went into the corporate world for 5 years, and I worked as a patient advocate, which I loved because there was a sense of social justice to it, and I could bring in education. And I was helping people who were in a vulnerable situation navigate the healthcare system. But I truly began to feel that I was called to have my own business and to help people with words. I didn't yet have the clarity that it was voice reclamation. I just have had a love affair with words since I was 4 years old and got my first library card.
Mm,
It's been in it's my life's blood. I love it. It's enchanting and empowering and magical to me, and it has been since I discovered language.
mhm,
Um, I had a very good job, but I would cry on my way to work every day.
mhm,
33 minutes of my 35-minute commute was crying because it was not where I was meant to be. And one day I went in and I told my supervisor, I really just have an awful headache. I have to go. And I left and I picked up a journal and I went to a graveyard because I thought, you know what? They're going to be quiet there.
oh,
And
wow.
I sat down under a tree and I opened up the journal and I said, I am not leaving here until I understand why I'm so unhappy and what I need to do to become happy. Well, that didn't work because, like, after an hour, I was hungry. I had to go to the bathroom. I don't know how Buddha did it. Like, I am not set up for enlightenment that way. I
Right.
need the creature comforts. So I left
Mhm,
after like 2 hours, right? But I went
mhm,
back the next day and I kept going back. And after a couple of days, I had my first business plan written in that notebook. And I was just asking myself questions. And I started my business. April 16th, just a few days from today, will be my 10 years in business as a
wow.
solopreneur. Yes.
Congrats.
So it
Mhm,
has evolved from helping people face the blank page with joy and confidence to now this underlying theme of it's not just about the words that you choose, it's about the voice that's saying the words.
mhm. I love what you're saying, because you know what comes to me, since I'm coaching in manifestation, right? So manifestation is our words, our thoughts, right? Our actions, emotions, everything
Mhm.
is in combination. So when you say words, because words have frequency, and then when we
Mhm.
add the voice, right? The
Yes.
voice is actually amplifying that frequency, because like, as we are talking to our audience, and I send the emails for my people. And
Mhm.
it's one thing when they just read the email from me in the form of the text, but
Mhm.
it's another level when they listen to the voice note that
Yes.
I sent through that email.
Right. Right, because the voice has vibration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if there's one thing that I could encourage your readers to do, it would be to develop a friendship with words. To
Mm-hmm.
not just use them as tools when you need them,
Mm-hmm.
but to actually develop a relationship with them so that when you need them, you're not just going to something that you know, is only there as something utilitarian, but you're actually calling friends come stand with you. That's the way I think of words. When I write with someone, I think of it as a collaboration with my word friends to write for somebody. Otherwise, it's really the literary equivalent of a booty call, right? It's like
Mm-hmm. Yep.
quick, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Let me use these words and I'm
Yep.
out. Quick satisfaction,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing lasting. But you want a deep and satisfying relationship with words, which leads to a deep and satisfying relationship with voice.
I love that. I love that. So tell a little bit more about what exactly are the three things you would want the listeners to actually remember from our conversation today.
Sure. So, the first thing I want people to know, and I would be so happy if people would know, is that they are not alone. They're not
Mhm.
alone. They're not crazy. They're not broken. There's nothing wrong with them. There are reasons that very powerful, self confident women go silent.
Mhm.
And that's the first part. Just to know that it's not a judgment, it's not an indicator of your value or your success. The second thing I would really like people to know is that there is a way to freedom. There's an other side to that coin. And the path to that is a path that can, yes, be challenging because it requires you to stretch your vision and see things you might not have seen before. And it requires you to stretch your heart and give grace that you might not have given before, both to yourself and to others present in this lifetime and in previous lifetimes, right? But it is so worth the journey. So I want this to be a message of hope and solidarity that women are profoundly powerful beings. And we come into this world as medicine women, carrying the virtues and the wisdom of the women who came before us. We also come in as liberators, as breakers of chains. We get to be both. That is amazing. And I want every single person who is listening to this podcast right now or who catches the replay to know wherever they are in their relationship with their voice, there's a reason for it, there's a beauty to it, and they have an opportunity in this life to create an even better legacy for whoever they're influencing. They might have
Mhm.
biological children, they might not, but all of us impact the next generation. All of us are creating the world that's coming into existence. What do we want that world to be like? We get
Mm.
that. And oh my gosh, Irina, I will tell you, there are few things more powerful than a woman who claims authorship of her own life. Because when you do that, when you stop being the side character and you become the main character in your life and you are the author of your own legacy, everything gets impacted from your business to your relationships. There's not a single thing. Sometimes people say to me, "Oh, that's what you do is nice. It's a nice to have for people who have extra time to like
Mhm.
delve into the woo, right?" I am a little bit woo. I don't apologize, but I will tell you, there are profound practical implications to doing this work because you
Mhm.
walk into a room different when you own your voice. You walk into a
Mhm.
job interview different. You walk in onto a TED stage different. You walk into a board meeting different. You walk into a family reunion different. You walk
That
in
is
a
so powerful. Super, super powerful. So let's just break for a few seconds of the commercial and we'll right back and continue the conversation because I truly love everything what we are talking about. Stay tuned. right. And we are back with our conversation with beautiful Marissa Polselli on the You Are the Masterpiece, where we talk about reclaim your voice and your power. Marissa, share a little bit more of what does it mean when we are actually claiming our voice. And I believe that it relates, like you mentioned, to any area of our life, right? Whether this
Mhm.
is at work, whether this is, like, because I remember I had to literally reclaim my voice in the family. Because
Mhm.
although I
Mhm.
was a leader all the time, but like sometimes my ex-husband would be, like making these jokes, right, in a
Right.
joking way, but the kids were not taking it, like as a joke, right? And then I felt like this also rubbing on them in terms of the way they were talking to me, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I was always thinking to myself, what the heck? I'm very strong woman. And
Yeah.
how can I, but again, like I'm strong, but I'm very soft at the same time. So like I actually embody both energies, masculine and feminine, right? And sometimes I felt like, what? They are just literally overstepping my boundaries, right? And
Mhm.
again, until I actually started to pay attention to that and actually, raw the way I am, because I'm a Leo by zodiac
Yes.
sign in the sun. Like
Me
it's like,
too.
yeah, look at that. It's like we are very patient. But
Mhm.
when it's time to raw, it's like the entire jungle is going to be sorry.
Mhm. Mhm.
Exactly
Yeah.
how it is, right?
Yes,
So
for
I
sure.
believe that reclaiming our voice and power is super, super important because
Mhm.
it actually impacts every area of our life.
Mhm. It
Would you
does.
like to add something to that?
I think that's beautifully said. And I think that the first area it impacts is our relationship with ourself. We
Mhm.
actually come to have a friendship with our voice. And I've actually put together a little gift for your audience, and it's called Befriending Your Voice. It's a little ritual. It's short.
Mhm.
So that information will be in the show notes, and
Mhm.
people can just have that. But the first thing that you'll notice when you reclaim your voice and you go through a process of reclaiming your voice is that you will feel more at ease in your authority. You'll feel rooted, you'll feel grounded,
Mhm.
right? And that, if you're thinking of like the chakra system, right, that's your root chakra, and everything else goes from there. Okay. So the relationship with family, the relationship with friends, the relationship in business, the relationship in your job, the relationship with your community, all of the extended circles that we go in, all of these concentric circles, they are all impacted by this because what you are carrying into all of those circles is that rooted authority that you've established within yourself. That's where it begins, and you are able to bring it into all of those other areas. And think of the example that is being set for younger women, for our daughters, for the next generation. Think of the cultural change we're able to impact when we are literally changing the vibration of what we're allowing to be done to us and what we're standing for.
Mhm.
Changing. That's world
I
changing. I
love
don't know about
that.
you, but I'm ready for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Me too. Me too. And like as you are speaking, what really stands out to me, because remember you mentioned that you were growing up in the family where, like women were the one to keep quiet. Me on the contrary, like my mom is a leader. Like I'm
Mm,
literally like my mom, right? She was always making more money than my dad, and that's why we never had any money stories, because my mom would just go to these major cities, because there was nothing in the small town in Ukraine where I was raised. Like everything was, the shelves were empty, right? She
mhm,
would go out on the business trips and she would bring like all these beautiful clothes, the shoes. Like I never felt any lack in anything, and there was never like any money stories in our household. So my thing is like my mom was my example. And
mhm,
obviously like the only thing, like she was never complimenting me. Like whatever I was doing, it was like, I know you can do better, right? So I guess from that standpoint, it's just like I always felt like I would want to have more love, but I felt that love on the energetic level. Although
Mhm,
she is never expressive, but I know through her actions she was proving it to me. And
mhm,
by me watching her to leading the family to be that, like on the forefront, right? That's exactly how I was navigating in my family and in my marriage, and like in my, in the eyes of my kids. So I
mhm.
feel this is like so powerful when you really know how to stand your ground and
Yes.
you are not afraid of it.
Yeah, and you know what to honor and keep, and what to say, that was important for you, but I can do this a little differently. Like, you
Yeah.
honor and keep your mother's resilience and resourcefulness and ability to
Mhm.
always provide, but perhaps you're a little bit more affectionate, a little bit more
Mhm.
demonstrative,
Yeah,
right? So it's a
absolutely.
beautiful way of keeping what is meant to be kept, and continuing on in an even better way.
Yeah, so beautiful, Marissa. I just enjoy our conversation. So, would you like to close us off with something that, like you want to leave, like maybe your line that people would be like, wow?
I would actually like to leave people with a little practice that they can do,
Yes, please.
just to sort of help them. I would invite you, before you speak in a high stakes moment, whether that's on your job or to your partner or to your children. I would like for you to place your hand on your throat or on your chest, wherever you feel your voice lives, and to take a deep breath. Remember that you don't have to perform. Remember that you don't have to pretend. You're reminding yourself that your voice has a physical home, and you get to inhabit it. You get to decide what it looks like, how much space it takes up. This is your power. You can claim it without hurting anyone or betraying anyone.
Oh my God, so, so beautiful, so powerful. And so it is. That's how we stay in
So it is.
manifestation. And for anybody, if this conversation just, like you felt something, you felt connected to Marissa, reach out. You have the links, and we'll drop later the special gift. Thanks so much, Marissa, for being with us, for, just showing us what really it means to own our voice and not being afraid to speak up. And, we are looking forward to meet you more into
Absolutely.
our platforms. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much, Irina. I love talking with you.
Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, Christine, it's somebody related to you, right? Yeah. So beautiful. Thanks so much for watching and for stopping by. And yeah, and for anybody who is watching and something resonates and you know somebody who can benefit from this episode, please share, because sharing is caring and we are here for each other. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure, Marissa. Thanks so much, Christine, for watching, and for everybody who is going to be watching. And we'll see each other soon.